Welcome to VCR, Vintage Cinema Rewind. We're bringing old movies to new viewers. I'm Blake.
Pow!
Put 'em up.
Yeah, hands up.
Hands up.
Yeah,
Damn it, I didn't even say it right.
Come on. This is why I don't take Blake with me when I rob trains.
Yeah, I misquote all the time.
Yeah, I do too. It's fine. But yeah, we're back with. I was about to say Stagecoach, but that's from 1939 with John Wayne.
It's okay. I thought you were talking about the one that's in this movie.
No, we're back with the Gray Fox.
Yeah,
not to be confused with the Master Thief from the Oblivion side quest. We're talking about the Canadian Western.
Yeah, from 1982. This is the deep dive episode, so if you've never seen this movie, go back and check out the spoiler-free primer episode. With that said, let's get into the deep dive. Where I want to actually start is, in my opinion, where this movie is at its best.
Okay, hit me.
And what I think, and this is where I was getting the most enjoyment out of this movie, is when it's chewing on the Canadian landscapes. And this movie has some really beautiful camera work, and oftentimes it's just like a still shot, and it's positioned with a train, going along a ravine with a mountain on one side, and it's just kind of plodding along on the tracks there. Absolutely gorgeous. Or, another shot where Kate and Bill are having like a nice little picnic, and they're on this plains, and there's actually mountains in the background.
Their whole little montage of them falling in love. You're just kind of like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Like this could almost be like a travelogue for a Canadian
It is, essentially.
Travel company.
Yeah, it's beautiful landscapes. And that's something that I pulled out multiple times, where I was kind of just almost not even paying attention to what was happening in the movie, borderline at points, where I was just kind of really enjoying the scenery.
Yeah, you tune on it.
Yeah,
Yum.
When he's shucking oysters or whatever, he's picking oysters out of the ground. Even a shot like that is just gorgeous.
Yeah, they definitely the money is on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't know that I connected with the setting as much as you do, but I typically don't. I actually really did glom onto Bill as a character for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, Bill's a pretty easy character to empathize with, right?
I think the scene that really kind of kicked things off for me was in the first act when he goes to watch the Great Train Robbery. Mm-hmm. And again, we've spoken before about how this guy doesn't really say much.
Yep.
But he's just he's got such a cinematic face, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So we're watching him watch, essentially probably the first Western ever put to cinema.
Yeah.
And he's not saying anything, but you just see in the way his eyes are lighting up and the way he's leaning forward. You're like, This is a guy who's reliving his own glory days, right?
Yep. I think he's the grandfather of all of us. He's kind of just got that grandfatherly vibe to him. This gentle grandfather kind of guy that, again, it's hard not to like a person who has this kind of quiet charisma.
Well, I did a very, very, very cursory amount of research on the real Bill Miner.
Yep.
And apparently he used to command his underlings, don't shoot anyone.
Right.
I know we're holding guns and we're robbing them, but don't shoot anyone.
Yeah, he was really popular with people because he had that kind of gentle tone to him. They robbed stagecoaches and trains, which at that time was wealthier people, so people were less inclined to be mad about that.
Yeah, and it almost, and I'm just kind of making this comparison now.
Yep.
It's almost kind of like the Canadian version of Unforgiven.
Right.
Whereas in Unforgiven, Will Money
that's a great
comparison. Wow, I really should have made that comparison last week, but I'm making it now. Will Money, it's Unforgiven is a reckoning where this old man has to come to terms with his past as a butcher,
right?
Who is haunted by all the people he's killed and how low he's been brought in. But when you get right down to it, Bill Miner is essentially just a public nuisance.
Yeah,
he's not really. I mean,
you want to hear something wild?
What?
I think I enjoyed this more than I did.
I think I did too. I hate to say it, but as much as I love Clint Eastwood, Blake and I never resonated with Unforgiven.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you didn't resonate with it, but that's a whole other podcast at some point.
That is indeed. Anyways, yeah, like I
think that movie's you had to be there. Sorry, a tangent over.
Yeah, no, I think we were just a little.
I think you had to be born in the 1960s and have grown up with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, like Clint Eastwood is always kind of like a grandfather to us.
Yeah, Unforgiven speaking to like it's like the first meta experience, right?
Yeah, it's like the first Western to be like, whoa, this is the psychological toll killing all these people would actually do to you. Now, though, in 2020, we're like, yeah, we get it. Like, I played Red Dead Redemption 2 8 years ago. I get it. But anyways, so, it's funny with this guy. We, the viewers, stay pretty close to him at all points.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to revise what I just said.
No.
I do a lot of revising on the fly. But I think the scene that really, my personal favorite scene is when Kate, his girlfriend, is taking a photo of the young sergeant who's just kind of been commanded by this sinister Pinkerton agent to root out the gray fox.
Right.
And he's like getting his photo taken, and he's kind of like, he's sort of developed a friendship with Bill at this point.
Yeah.
And Bill's posing as...
and Bill's like well liked in the community, I think,
I mean, how could you not like the guy? He's
Yeah.
just a very nice man.
Yep.
And this young guy, he's like just been promoted, and
he looks like Shia LaBeouf's dad.
Oh my God, kind of, yeah. But Shia LaBeouf. But basically, to make a long story short, it's sort of implied that he knows who Bill Miner really is, but like he doesn't really want to bring him down. And he says to Kate, and he's kind of like mentioning all this shit to Kate in a very oblique way.
Yeah.
As kind of though, as like he's trying to figure out what she knows, or maybe even trying to warn her so that he can warn Bill. But like he kind of just says like, yeah, I wouldn't be very popular if I brought him in.
Yeah.
Like people really seem to like him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
I mean, it's an uncomfortable position to be in, right? Like I've never been in that position. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I like to be in a position where a very likable person, you have to like reckon with maybe some shitty stuff that they're doing. That's tough, right?
And it further complicates things though, because I mean, I hesitate to say these are victimless crimes, but they're almost kind of victimless crimes. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Kinda. I mean, again, I hesitate to say he's not hurting anyone, but it's I actually liked that young man a lot more than I thought I would too. I guess I liked everyone in this movie.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Like, and even the quote unquote villains have some charm to them, right? Like, and really, there's not too many villains in this. Like, the Pinkerton's the closest to the villain of the movie.
He's essentially just like a G-man, right?
Yeah.
And I did, he's a little bit cartoonishly sinister.
Right.
Well, not cartoonishly sinister, but like he's very like
he's smarmy
and like sinister in a very subtle way. He kind of reminded me of the eye doctor from Videodrome,
Right.
Like the guy who's like, yeah, I'm like the real villains are actually in the shadows. They're not drawing attention to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he basically strong arms this young officer to run down Bill Miner, and the young man relents. He's like, "Fine, I'll do this for you." And the Pinkerton agent blinks. He's like, "No, do this for us. We're on the same side." I was like, "Fuck, I do kind of like this guy."
Yeah. You know who else I liked in this movie is Bud, the ringleader, the guy who sets up the jobs.
Right. Yeah. The kind of they don't really go too much into detail about their relationship. You guess he's just sort of like a former accomplice. Who he's now essentially graduated to white collar crime,
right,
so to speak.
Yep.
So they have a great exchange later when they're talking about a job, and Bill basically says to him, he's like, "You never were much one for getting your hands dirty or like taking the risks, were you?" And Bud's smoking a cigar, and he's like, "Well, yeah, that's how I stayed out of jail."
Yeah. Obviously, you turd.
Yeah, he's like, what? It's like, I'm not cowardly, I'm smart.
Yeah, he's the one who comes with the plans. I don't know. I respect characters like that, and I think that character is portrayed relatively well. There's no bad performances in this movie.
No, like everybody's firing on all cylinders across the board.
Yeah, as well as they need to be.
the one character I did really like, and again, I hope the viewers at home aren't getting annoyed with us. It's just given this movie's quaintness, there's not a lot of like big complex things to digest. We're
Agreed.
just kind of like we're just kind of chewing on it, you know, in the same way that this movie's chewing the scenery.
Yep.
We're just kind of chewing this over as best we can.
Yep.
So I also really liked Shorty.
Yeah.
He actually, I think he has the best joke in the whole movie when they're leaving the factory and it's raining and he just looks up and says, "Oh, it looks like rain." It's like, fuck, that's really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Shorty as well. I like the dynamic of Shorty and Bill, and Bud kind of comments on it like, "Oh, you only work with dumb people," essentially.
Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of thought and sat with that for a little bit because I was like, "Oh, that's a really interesting observation from somebody who has a past history with Bill." And I was kind of thinking to the first train robbery that we see him do, and maybe the guys that he's working with are maybe a little bit more intelligent, but
They're
with
kind of
intelligence comes in more independence, I think.
Yeah.
And so, Bill has his standards, how he wants to run a job. He doesn't want too many cooks in the kitchen. He also wants it to run it himself. And so to have someone along like Shorty who's willing to take commands and also follow those commands to the letter of the law, like that's somebody who Bill can respect and work with.
Yeah, like a follower, not a
Yeah.
leader. Someone who will follow instructions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas the first two guys that we see don't follow instructions necessarily and make mistakes, and that ends up like almost getting Bill caught or shot at that point in time,
It
right?
ends up like legendarily botching the job,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So I found their relationship actually made a lot of sense to me, and Bud commenting on it, but maybe not seeing the reason why.
Yeah.
And us having to infer that. There's a few things that we kind of have to infer in this movie. I like this movie as well because it doesn't like treat the audience like we're stupid idiots. Like,
yeah, it's subtle. It expects you to just. I actually more to that point. I like that they didn't even really bother explaining who Bud was.
Yeah.
You just pick up from their interactions. You're like, oh, I guess they're like old friends.
I love that stuff. Love when a movie
yeah.
has a world that we're just kind of spectating a brief period of time in.
You know, one thing, I spent a lot of time last year brushing up on writing craft stuff. And
Yep.
One thing that I picked up from a book that I actually really admired was this author, James Scott Bell. He just shrugs on the page. It says, yeah, readers will wait a lot longer for exposition than you think.
Yeah.
He's like, just get right into the action and explain it later.
And it's kind of opposite to where our culture's moving. Like, I think there was a recent article about Netflix. I think it was like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Yeah, they were on
about this.
Rogan. I didn't watch it because I'd have to listen to Rogan, but like, yeah, I think they had said that like Netflix wants an action scene within the first 5 minutes, and like
but they also want like you to continuously bring up what the major plot arc is
for people on their phones. Yeah. Which I mean, they're the insiders; they would know. But like, I don't feel like I get that from a lot of modern movies.
I bet you. So I don't watch a lot of Netflix anymore, and that's a big reason why. Is they treat the audience kind of like stupid dumbs who are on their phone the whole time.
Yeah,
and I don't want to feel like a toddler.
Like I'm being talked down to.
Yeah, like I don't want to feel like a toddler being like handheld through a movie. Like I want a movie where it's like, oh, there's an interesting little string that I could pull on here if I'd like to, and think about this and world build myself, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I think part of the reason you and I both liked Barry Lyndon so much is that a lot of it is so ambiguous.
Yeah,
we talked about the shootout scene where it's like, well, why is he?
And it's never explained.
Yeah, and it's just like, fuck you figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, you can go too far with that and be like, I would love a little more clarification.
Absolutely. Like, I don't love an ambiguous ending to a movie, necessarily.
That's right. You don't like that.
No. I don't like when a director shrugs their shoulders and goes, well, you figure out how it ended. Like, that pisses me off. There's no conclusion.
You know, Norm Macdonald had a great bit about that. He was talking about, what's that Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson movie, Lost in Translation? Yep. How that movie famously ends where Bill Murray whispers into Scarlett Johansson's ear, but we don't get to hear what it is. And spoiler alert for Lost in Translation, I guess, but
you're a little in the spoiler alert. Jesus.
Fuck you. It's 20 years old, but Norm Macdonald had a great bit where he's like, well, what did he say? And the director's like, you figured out. And Norm's like, well, I'm not this screenwriter. Like, you tell me.
I mean, it's it, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about movies. But I like when there's little threads that can make a world feel bigger without us having to dive down a whole like backstory.
And that's something I noticed with this movie was it's hypocritical and funny because I feel like I'm always like the ADD guy where I'm just like, and even in where I'm just kind of like move faster, move faster, move faster. Like even in my own writing, I'm like next scene, next scene, next scene.
Right.
But this movie, I felt like it just it almost reminded me of like a frog just jumping from like lily pad to lily pad. Like just we're going, we're here, we're here, we're here.
Yep.
And like, again, for me, the quote unquote half cocaine addict of the podcast, I was like, I would like a little more at times, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
I actually would have liked a little more of him and Shorty just to elaborate on their relationship.
Yeah, but I see, for me, I got enough out of it that I understood the premise of the relationship.
And I suppose I'd rather be left wanting a little more than being like, okay, I fucking got it, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to put a brief asterisk to what I was just saying about just putting enough in to leave a thread for me to think about and kind of mull over. Something like City of God that does like very quick explanations and like adds to the world. Like I'm thinking of like the one that's jumping out at me is The Apartment, and like coming up with this really crazy backstory to this apartment and all this history behind it. Where it's like, oh, you didn't need to do that, but it's kind of fun and exciting in that way.
I mean, that movie also has like a omnipotent narrator, right?
Right.
So you can just look the audience directly in the eye and be like, oh, now here's some of this.
Yeah,
right?
Tangents like that work really well, but in a movie like this, or in other films where it's like, oh, you don't really need to explain more to me. Like, just showing me and letting me figure stuff out on my own is fine.
To be honest, that scene I mentioned with Kate and the young guy, the young officer, I might be wrong, but I think that's the only scene that Bill doesn't appear in.
One of two, maybe.
Okay.
The only other one would be when the Pinkertons are interrogating the guy who got shot during the failed train robbery.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the
happen.
only other scene that he wasn't in.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. But there's going back a little bit.
Well, sorry, 3 scenes, because there's right before he interviews Kate, or takes his picture with Kate, and he talks to the Pinkerton as well.
Actually, okay, fuck Shorty for 1 second. Should we talk about the relationship between him and Kate?
Yeah, I think this is what I was talking about in the primer, where it was like, I didn't know that I was so invested in this movie until Kate was like, I know who you are, and we need to flee together. And Bill's like, I'm sorry, but that's not going to work. Like I'm a criminal. I know how this works, and you and me escaping together is just such a huge red flag that we'll never find peace together. And part of the reason I think why it affected me so well is actually because of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm predisposed because of movie history and because of the movies that we've watched in the past to instantly hear that and go, oh, these two are never going to see each other.
Yeah, you're right, actually, because even when they were having that scene, I'm like, oh, they're never going to see each other again. But
and that got me. Like, I was genuinely upset. And that's where I was like, oh, wow, I really care about this movie, actually.
Yeah, like, like he says that's not going to work, you fleeing with me because et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they basically just said, I need you to just go to Chicago and I'll meet you there in a few months.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, cool. And then they have their one kiss in the entire movie. Mm-hmm. Again, that's how restrained this movie is. It's just one kiss, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's kind of funny. So Kate shows up, and she's essentially the first feminist.
Yeah.
Like, she wants to publish a paper about how female factory workers are only making, like, 1/3 of their male counterparts. Mm-hmm. They run into each other randomly in the woods, a week later, and they just start talking. And, like, there was a part of me that was kind of rolling my eyes at it. I'm like, yeah, I've seen this before in Westerns, right?
Right.
Like the independent woman and like the gruff, stoic, badass. You see a variation of this in Tombstone, mm-hmm. which I guess would have came out like 10 years after this movie.
Yep.
And then at the same token, though, I was kind of swept up in it. And I also bought it, right?
Yeah.
Because she's essentially like a very independent, artistic, intelligent young woman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess not super young, but
she's like in her 40s when this is filmed.
Sure,
I looked it up.
Yeah. So she'd essentially would kind of be very likely a bit of an outcast in her little community, and he's just he's gruff looking.
He's got quiet charisma, man. That's all you need.
I think the kids call that Riz, Blake. But I buy the relationship because he's just interesting, you know?
Yeah.
I can understand why someone like her would be drawn to someone like him because
he's an artist of crime.
Essentially, yeah. Yeah, kind of. Well, he's also just like, you can tell, like, it's funny watching this movie. I was like, man, like, can you imagine how fucking boring life would have been back then?
Yeah.
Like, I could see how she would have glommed on to him just because he's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he tells really great stories. Like, and they're all fake and they're all false and none of them are true. Right. But they're good stories.
Yeah, and he, like, is sort of, he's clearly, like, not a dumb guy. Like,
no.
She's playing a record and he's like, oh, that's like Beethoven's whatever. It's not Beethoven's, but it's like, he's able to identify what it is. So he's at least moderately more cultured than the other men hanging around.
Yep.
So I bought it.
Well, I mean, they're also in Kamloops, BC, which is not like the hub of culture and things happening. Like, it's, you know, I think it's a few hours north of Vancouver. Like, it's kind of out in the boonies, you know? So
pretty much, yeah.
You know, she's like probably just way more cultured than the rest of the people around that era at that point in time, just because, like, it would take a lot of time to get culture immediately to that town, right?
Yeah. Hey, that's a lesson to the young men listening to this. Just be moderately more interesting than your peers. That's how you get girls.
Jesus. We don't need to Andrew Tate this episode. What else do I want to talk about?
Maybe we should talk about the Canadianness of this character in this movie.
Yeah, I think so. That's maybe where I was heading as well. Like, I think you're right about the restraint this movie has and how Canadian that is. There's not a lot of, like, big angry outbursts like you're used to in American movies.
You know, the angriest outburst there is early on, a very troubled young man recognizes him and says, I'm putting a gang together. And he's just pretty clearly like, yeah, I don't work for other people. Sorry. And the guy's like, well, you could spare a few dollars, can't you? And he's like, and then he pulls a knife on him, and he's pretty clearly, like, drunk or suffering withdrawals or something. What are you going to say?
I'm going to say that I'm pretty sure he's still in America at that point in time.
Oh, yeah, you might be right.
So, yeah, go on, sorry.
But anyways, oh, fuck, my whole analogy just broke down. But anyways, though, he ends up cracking a bottle over the guy's head.
Yeah.
The guy goes to rush him, levels his pistol at him, and he has a great line. It's such a great, like, I love macho Western dialogue, where he's basically just like, you're not worth shooting, but if you come at me again, I'm going to put a window in your skull. So the guy backs down, and then he just very calmly stands up and, like, nods to their patrons. He's like, I'm sorry for the disturbance, and then walks away. Yeah. To me, I was like, I know you're right. He's not Canadian. I don't
think he's Canadian at that point. Yeah.
To me, though, that's such a Canadian thing to do. Like, defend yourself and then be like, I'm sorry.
So that's a good point. I forgot about that scene. But the second most angrier outburst in this movie is at the very end of the film when Shorty shoots at the cop. And then the cop shoots him in the leg, and the cop's like, you could have blown your own head off. Like, he's mad at him for, like, holding his gun up.
Yeah.
It's really great because, like, I can picture a police officer in 2026 being shot at, shooting the perpetrator, and then being like, what were you thinking, man?
Yeah. Like, what the fuck was, it's more like a parent scolding a child, right?
But that's just, like, Canada in a nutshell. Like, that's the most serious we would be is, like, what were you thinking, kid?
Yeah.
Like, I literally can picture a police officer doing that in Canada, whereas in the States, you would just get shot. And
you would be, like, riddled with bullets.
Yeah. There would be no questions. There would be no, like, hey, man, what are you doing?
Yeah. Can we talk about, I actually loved the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
Specifically, I loved how anticlimactic it was.
Yeah.
So they try to rob a train. I think they screw it up, and they end up leaving with $17 and a bottle of kidney pills.
Right, because they unhooked the wrong cart.
Right.
Which I was like, okay, and that happened in real life. So reading into, like, the real Bill Miner, that's how they got caught. That's how things things played out in real life. Like, it actually is pretty true to the real story, the last act of the film.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was confused by was like, well, the train goes back and picks up the other cart. So, like, why not just hold these guys at gunpoint and, like, make them back up.
Or just go to the next cart? Well, I guess it would have driven away. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I was like, part of me was like, look, man, I'm not a professional train robber here. I'm pretty sure we can figure this out. But anyways, so then him, Shorty, and the other guy are just kind of having camp, and then a Mountie just walks through the trees and starts talking to them, and meanwhile, other Mounties are like surrounding them.
Yep.
And they're kind of like, you sure look like Bill Miner. They're like, we're not. We're just prospectors. And the guy's like, they're doing such a bad job of lying.
Yeah.
He's like, well, we're prospectors. And the guy like knocks over one of their pans. He's like, your pans don't even look used.
Yeah. Which is, again, a very Canadian interaction, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, like outright accusations, no yelling, like no guns drawn yet.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, hey, what are you guys up to out here?
Yeah. You sure look similar to some criminals we've been
To
dealing
some
with.
international criminal.
Yeah. And then, they get surrounded. Shorty panics, runs off. Like you said, they just shoot him in the leg.
Yeah.
And then they just pick him up, right? And they like take him in for questioning. And again, I love the climax because, in American Western, he'd go down in a blaze of glory.
Oh, absolutely.
Like going back to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, like they'd get their like faces shot off.
Yeah.
In this movie, like I love that it's a Western that ends with the hero not even putting up a fight.
Yeah.
He just gets arrested. They drag him back to town.
He continuously professes that he's not Bill Miner, even though he's very clearly Bill
Even though
Miner.
he's really clearly Bill Miner. I even liked the moment where, the young man pulls him out of the cell to talk to the Pinkerton agent.
Yeah.
And the young man's just like, how you doing, Bill? Are my men treating you okay? And he's like, oh, I'm just fine. And I'm like, that something about that, too, was very like, I could see my dad having this conversation with someone. Not in the jail cell, hopefully, but, yeah, like, are my men treating you okay? And he's just like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's cool. I'm not Bill Miner, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I found that this movie ended on a pretty good note as well. Like it kind of surprised me because at the end it kind of was like, oh, and Bill Miner went to jail and he was supposed to go to jail for the rest of his life essentially. But he broke out and him and Kate and some man named George went on a nice vacation to Europe together. And the end.
Right. So that kind of threw me because I was like, oh, it's a tragedy, right?
Right.
This is how a tragedy ends. But then suddenly we get that title card and then we see him in like, close your eyes, viewers, and picture like a 18th century prison garb. That's what he's wearing.
Yeah.
Like the white stripes, the black stripes and everything.
It's pretty great. It kind of feels like some like Coen Brothers kind of like gag.
Yeah.
At the end.
We were like, what? But, I looked it up and like, this motherfucker actually did escape prison
a couple times.
More than once. Like he
Yeah.
went back to the States, kept robbing people.
Yeah.
And then I think he died of like some kind of bacterial infection from drinking bad water.
Yeah, he while he was broken out of prison, one of the times he was broken out, his last time he was broken out, he drank some like bad water, probably just like still water or something, and died. Of disease.
Yeah.
But he lived a full life. Like I think he died at like 65 or 70 or something.
Which is a ripe old age for a stagecoach robber.
Yeah.
But
in like the 1900s, absolutely.
That's pretty there was a part of me that was like, wait, what? And I was almost offended by the ending. But then I was like, I don't care. This is nice.
Yeah, it's pleasant. The whole movie is just very pleasant.
Yeah, really. He just is like, I got captured. Well, I'm breaking out again.
Yeah. Well, even, here's another Canadian moment for you. There's the moment where the police officer first shows up at the mine because he hears that Bill and Shorty are these new people in town. And like Shorty instantly just like runs away from him, and like the police officer doesn't like draw his gun and is like, stop moving or I'll shoot you or anything like that. He just like kind of casually walks in and he's like, what you guys up to? Where are you from? Who are you?
Right. Well, I think Shorty runs over to Bill and he's like, we got to get out of here. And Bill's like, why? We're not breaking any laws.
Yeah.
It's just like he's like, hi officer, what's up? Like,
which in 2020, in the year of our Lord 2026, in Canada, I would feel completely safe doing that. In the U.S., I would not feel completely safe doing that.
Oh, yeah, you would...
I would be running away.
Oh, my God. I would... If I were just minding my own business across the street from a crime, I'd probably get shot.
Yeah.
But,
I believe it.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry, America. We're dunking on you guys pretty hard right now. But
yeah,
some of you deserve it.
Yeah, some of you are just dunking on yourselves. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyways... I just loved how matter-of-factly Bill was like, Shorty's like, again, like, we got to get out of here. And Bill's like, why? We're not breaking any laws.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out, right?
Yeah.
It is funny. Sometimes I do feel this irrational fear when I see cops near me, and I have to remind myself, like, it's fine. You're not breaking any laws. You're just minding your own business.
Yeah, it's that fear of authority. It's the same thing with when you have HR and like HR calls you and they're like, "Can I see you?" And you're like, "Oh," and then you're like, "Wait, I'm the boss. This is okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be okay."
Right. They're on my side. I'm management. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So,
well, the last time HR wanted to see me, Blake, I got laid off. So you and I are coming at this from different angles.
It's true. One last thing that I had written down that I liked about this movie is for the most of this movie, they don't actually really show or explain how Bill holds up trains. And so I thought this whole movie that they would maybe like run up to it on a horse, like some big cinematic experience. And they were like, we don't have the budget to like hop on here. But it's way more simple than that, actually.
Yeah.
They just wait for it to stop for water and they hop on. They wait until they get out in the wilderness and they unhook some of the carts, let the train stop, and then they rob the people.
Yep.
And
pretty
it's
cool.
that simple.
It's pretty dirt simple when you get right down to it, right?
Made perfect sense. I liked that they didn't show that though until the very last robbery.
Kinda. Yeah, I actually didn't notice that, but you're right. It is a little, the process is mysterious. There's a great scene early on though when they're like, they got one guy at gunpoint and they make him like convince the other guy to open the door.
Right.
And the other guy's like, "What, are we being robbed?" And the guy being held at gunpoint is like, "I guess so." And then like the other guy's just like, no, guess so. You are being robbed.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of like passive aggressive attitude, which is also very Canadian.
Yeah, that's our dark side.
Yeah.
Also hockey.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, fun little movie. Another scene I did want to bring up is for as polite as Bill is, he does totally punch Shorty in the face in one scene. Shorty's
because he's speaking out a line about his woman.
That's right, but it's something about that scene really actually tickled me. Like they're in their like dinky little room that they're sharing, and you know, Shorty actually, it's a good line. He's like, "You've been spending a lot of time with that woman. She's made a gelding out of you." A gelding being a castrated horse.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you for researching that for us.
You're welcome. This is
or just knowing that off the top of your head.
Yeah,
let's
I'm not willing to
let's unpackage that.
I'm not willing to answer. I'm not taking any questions tonight, but anyway, and then Bill just stands up, like shakes him a little. He's like, "You damn fool.
You damn dirty ape."
Yeah, punches him and then but then the scene just ends.
Yeah.
Like Shorty's just like, "Ow."
Yeah.
And then they just never talk about it again. I assume.
Yeah. No, I actually really liked that the relationship. It does kind of that. Like this movie isn't reinventing the wheel by any means. Like, you know, that push and pull of like this rugged man is being pulled by society and this woman to maybe settle down at this point, and yet his past comes up to back to haunt him, kind of thing, right? Like it's pretty standard fare. Like I don't know what the genre of storytelling that is, but it's a pretty tried and true trope,
I think it's called like a revisionist western.
Okay.
I could be wrong though, but again, this is like the quaint Canadian version of that story.
Yeah, which is good.
Not even, he's just kind of a public nuisance. Yeah.
So I don't have too much else to talk.
You get the sense that his friend, the young officer, would probably just keep looking the other way if the Pinkertons hadn't put the pressure on him.
Yeah, I mean, some two random guys showing up in town, and Bill having a bunch of tattoos in like 1900, like definitely would arouse some suspicion, right? But as long as he's not committing crimes and he's not being a public nuisance, like what are you gonna do? Why are you gonna disturb the peace over somebody's past?
Yeah, really.
So. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I like this one. I had fun with it, and it pulled me in more than I was expecting. Sequels, prequels, reboots, nothing too much to talk about here. I just wanted to talk quickly about the real Bill Miner, and he was nicknamed the Gray Fox, the Gentleman Robber, or the Gentleman Bandit. Like you said in the primary episode, and this movie also states in the opening title, he was the one who coined the phrase "hands up," I guess.
Cool.
So yeah, and he was
I
also
like it. It's simple. You know exactly what you're supposed to do.
yep.
Reach for the sky.
And the legend is that Bill Miner told all of his accomplices that they were not allowed to shoot anyone. So yeah,
You can imagine how those conversations must have went. Like,
on that note as well, like this movie does actually make a point at some point to say, I think Bud's talking to him and he's like, "Oh, I heard this and that about you," and Bill's like, "All the stories are always overblown."
yeah,
Like,
right. Bud's like, I heard you made off with like $7,000 in gold dust. He's like, yeah, they always stretch the truth, right?
Yeah, which is so true. Like, and especially at this point in time when there's no internet to just corroborate instantly what the facts of the case are. And even today, it's like, are the facts really the facts? Oh, truth and freedom.
Oh, who effing knows?
But anyway, yeah, they keep pretty true to the story of Bill, honestly. The only really thing that they spiced up in this movie is the romantic element being the major change to what actually happened in Bill's life. Otherwise, this movie actually is pretty true. Like, Shorty's a real person. How they caught him is real.
Well, you know, there's the guy with the bad cough.
Yeah.
Who they make friends with while working as miners. And there's part of me that's like, why is this character even here? Like, he's not really adding anything. But then I'm like, I guess it is based on a true story, though, right?
Yep.
He's just another guy who's there.
Well, I think what he's there to do is show you what life in the mines would have been like and what your health would have been like working the mines. Because there's a point when Kate says, like, you're not really a guy that I would expect to work in the mines, to Bill,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because, yeah, like, I mean, I've only really met, that I can think of off the top of my head, one person who worked in a mine. And he sounded like he smoked like 20 packs a day.
Wait, you met a guy who works in a mine?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you remember, you and I actually went to school at the same public school, and I'm not going to say his name out loud, but there's an art teacher that you and I went to school who was the art teacher in grade 7 and 8, and he worked in a mine in Northern Ontario for a long time. And don't say his name out loud.
I'm not going to. I don't
want to weirdly dox like some 60-plus-year-old man.
Yeah. I didn't know he were. It's just funny. And this just shows what like a sheltered, privileged asshole I am. Every time I hear like, oh, the mine workers, I'm like, there are mines? But
yes, we live in southwestern Ontario, which is very, very different than most of Ontario. We live in farmland Ontario, not
mineland Ontario.
Yeah.
I guess it's just, and again, this just shows what a asshole I am. But like, you know, for me, I'm like, oh yeah, a mine worker, like in a fantasy novel.
Jesus.
Yeah.
In RuneScape.
All due respect to mine workers. I'm making fun of myself, not you guys.
Yep. So, effects and filming. This one's a really interesting little tidbit. Harry Dean Stanton was originally pegged to star in this movie.
That's right, but he did not want to be pegged, so he went to go work on
One for the
Heart, which we've mentioned, haven't we?
Yes, because it's a Francis Ford Coppola. I think it's his first big flop.
That's right. I heard that movie, and I was like, where do I...
Yeah, it's like a musical about two people in Vegas who break up with each other. I've never seen it. It's like one of 3 of Francis Ford Coppola's movies that I've never seen.
Yeah, we should watch it at some point.
Yeah. And apparently it's been revised and people actually really like it now, but you know.
That's that's public opinion for you, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the prequels, it's like the Star Wars prequels, right? Like we loved them, then we hated them, now apparently we love them again.
It's an interesting thought experiment to think about how this movie's different with Harry Dean Stanton as the main character. Richard Farnsworth is really good in this performance. Like,
this is pitch perfect casting.
Like, I wrote down when this movie started, within 10 minutes, I was like, was this movie written for this actor?
Yeah. No, I mean, and Harry Dean Stanton, like, I think, and again, I'm really most familiar with him from
Alien?
No, from the movie we did last year.
Oh.
Repo Man.
Yeah, Repo Man.
I could picture him bringing a lot of, like, snark and anger to this role.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more than what was called for. But
yeah.
Harry Dean Stanton's one of the all-time greats. Like, he's one of the great character actors, so I think that he could have had the restraint. And
he would have kept it all off screen.
You know what I would have compared it to is, and I don't think you've seen Paris, Texas, but his character in Paris, Texas probably would have been what he would have been like in this movie.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, which is a really good movie that you and I should do on this podcast at some point because it's made by it's a movie that it takes place entirely in America, but it's not an American movie. It's made by like Wim Wenders, who's I think German. And it's all like a European production and everything. I'm pretty sure it's even filmed maybe in Europe, but it's like a very European movie, but it's like made to be set in America about Americans, which is a really interesting idea.
Okay.
So, yeah, but yeah, apparently like it got far enough. I don't think they filmed anything, but there was like ads, like billboards and stuff with Harry Dean Stanton as this character, and I could, if you see the poster for this movie, that would probably be what it was like advertised as, like him just kind of a mugshot kind of style of Harry Dean Stanton.
It is funny how sometimes you can actually, like wasn't there some guy who was supposed to be Aragorn and they actually shot for 2 weeks before they fired him and brought in.
You're right. I don't know if it was Aragorn, but it was somebody.
I think it was Aragorn. Which is preposterous to think, right? That anyone other than Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, you're totally right, because he's the one who it's like nobody else could have been Viggo Mortensen in this movie. Yeah, I completely agree.
We still got to rewatch those movies.
Yeah, they're sitting right behind you.
Oh. There they are.
Yeah, and so they filmed a lot of this in British Columbia. This is the only time anyone was ever allowed to film in Fort Steele, I guess, which is a heritage site. I think that's where Kamloops is filmed, like the location of Kamloops in this. And they filmed on the railway, the British Columbia Railway, Pacific Great Eastern Railway, between Pemberton and Lillooet, British Columbia. So if you want to go see some of the views of this, they also did a bit of filming down in Washington State as well.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. The sequence where they catch Bill Miner at the end, the finale, was shot within a quarter mile of where Bill Miner was actually caught.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. The more you know.
Kind of neat, eh?
Kind of neat, yeah.
And Miner's gun in that scene is the same gun that he actually used, I think, in real life. Like, it's a 41 Bisley Colt. So, like, all the close-ups show, I believe, what was his real gun. And a collector had owned that and lent that to them to make this movie.
Okay, interesting.
Cool little pieces there. Great Train Robbery, we mentioned this. It, I believe, came out in 1903, so there's like maybe a little bit of inaccuracy, and because he gets released in 1901, and maybe he worked as a shucker for a couple years, but it came out in 1903. I actually watched part of it because it's available for free on Wikipedia. There's no sound. It's a silent movie.
Yeah.
And it's like 13 minutes long, I believe.
Yeah, it was like, it must have been really interesting to be on like the cutting edge of cinema. Like,
it's so interesting watching a movie that's over 100 years old.
Yeah. When they barely even understood what a movie was.
Well, yeah. And I think something that I caught very quickly, like, because I watched about 5 minutes of it. What I picked up really quickly is that the camera is static in every shot, and that's probably because the camera was like 500 pounds, and like
it took a team of horses just to move it. Yeah,
probably, right? So like it's just like this. Every shot is way zoomed out. You see the whole scene, and like characters like who are standing 30 feet away from the camera are acting out a performance without any sound. And it's very surreal watching it. It's kind of wild, like that, 100, we're watching something that was filmed like 125 years ago, right? Like that's insane to me. But yeah, it's kind of cool as well. Not the most entertaining thing I've ever seen, but it's, a piece of history, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they used scenes from the Great Train Robbery in this movie, but they also actually made some new footage and called it the Great Train Robbery to make it look more similar.
That's kind of what I was wondering. I was like, okay, is this? And they did a really good job. Where I'm like, is this actual Great Train Robbery footage, or did they have to update this a little bit?
They did update it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They used a little bit of clips, like they kind of mixed them together, but
I mean, they kept the famous clip of the guy shooting the camera, right?
Yeah.
And they showed an audience member shooting back.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Which
really
apparently did happen in real life.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it for sure. Yeah, that's a really exciting sequence. It's also somewhat like in conversation with itself. It's kind of a meta in a sense too, right? Like it's like, movies inspire people and people inspire movies.
Exactly. It's like in Ouroboros, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
exactly.
inspired by... He inspired this movie, and now it's inspiring him to rob trains.
Yeah, it's really fun. I really like that aspect of it. I wouldn't say there's too much to talk about with the score. Like, I would put the score on par with like a TV movie. and a very Canadian TV movie at that.
I would say that
It's very Reedsy.
when he has his first conversation with Kate, this like very saccharine piano music starts playing, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I
She's-
remember this from my CBC like 2002 era.
Well, it's just like, I guess she's the love interest. The piano is telling me so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quaint like the rest of this movie and very Canadian.
Well, it's funny. There's that early scene with the piano player like struggling to play the piano with the Great Train Robbery. You almost expect the camera to pan over like an inch to the left, and he's playing the piano for them. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun.
That's a good time. Look back at the times. Roger Ebert called this a lovely adventure and gave it 3.5 stars out of 4.
It is a lovely adventure.
It's a lovely
isn't
adventure.
It? Yeah.
You know what? Raj coming in, as always, with just like a pointed but very expressive way to summarize up a movie.
I would agree.
And it has, to this day, a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is one of very, very, very few movies.
Right, but that's probably also because 5 people reviewed it.
29 people.
All right,
sir.
all right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that's kind of neat. It's just like all of Canada. Just we're kind of neat.
We're
you know?
kind of neat, you
We're
know.
kinda neat. And isn't that neat? Legacy of this movie. So this is super random, but I think it's because the CAG originated out in BC, but I guess the CAG has references to Bill Miner on their menu.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Super random, but you know, back 120 years ago, Bill Miner was kind of a legend.
I guess so.
He was
right?
famous. He was like American Robin Hood, right?
I guess,
in Canada.
Having a drink at a fancy restaurant named after you is probably the height of fame, right? Because even after you're
100 years later, hell yeah.
yeah, even after you're gone, the drink will remain.
Yep. And we talked about in the primer episode this movie having some not great quality on YouTube, but you can get a 4K restoration of this film that came out in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Recent.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Relatively recent. I mean, that was 5 years ago, you sick
6
freak.
years ago.
That's
right, bitch. I got you. Bang!
Hands up.
Yeah.
Personal views of the partner factor. Like I kind of said, I like this actually quite a bit more than I expected I would. I don't think I was as into it at first as you were. Like, you sounded like the highlight of the movie for you was that first act. Whereas...
Yeah, I feel like I started off pretty into it, and then I sort of I got a little bored in the middle.
Yep.
It sounds like it's the opposite for you.
Yeah.
Where you started off a little bored, but then you got into it.
Yeah, it kind of hooked its claws into me.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I enjoyed this movie. Unfortunately, my partner didn't get to watch it with me. I think she would have probably even liked it more than I would. I think she probably would have liked it more than me because she's just an all-around happier person than I am. But yeah, no, I had a good time with it.
Nice. Yeah.
How did Jess like it?
She didn't pay attention. She looked up and she was like, "Oh, that's Richard Farnsworth. I know him from Man of Green Gables," and then went back to watching hockey. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
to be fair, it was probably a pretty good game last week. I don't know who's playing.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, and again, like I said earlier, kudos to a movie for subtly digging its hooks into me and surprising me that I cared as much as I did by the end. Like that very rarely happens in a movie where it's like, "Oh, this is all right. And then you're like, "Oh man, they're never going to see each other again." Like,
yeah.
I'm so upset about this.
You know
Why
what?
am I so upset about this?
Sorry, I should have mentioned this earlier, but one moment that actually really got me was when they're dragged back to town and like everyone's just watching him get dragged to his prison cell, and it's raining, and he just has this like ratty looking blanket strung over his shoulders,
Right.
and him and his cohorts are dragged into the prison cell. Something about that, I was like, the public humiliation of it, I was like, ew. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but the public loves him, baby.
yeah, really.
Okay, I think that is everything that I want to talk about this movie.
I mean, a nice kind of breather after Barry Lyndon, which I am still fucking editing right now. But to be fair, you did most of it. But yeah, no, I think this was good. I did enjoy this.
Yeah,
I think 2026 is off to a pretty good start for us.
Yeah, no complaints so far with movies.
Yeah.
World War III might have broken out by the time this episode comes out, but having a good time at the movies right now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's just great.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Okay.
Happy January.
Happy
That'll be
January.
the end of January for us.
Woo! Okay, bye. Go rob some trains.